A comedian's biggest nightmare is going on stage and telling a joke that nobody laughs at.
Was a full cricket bomb.
No.
These are 6 comedians who shared their embarrassing bombing stories. Starting with Chris DiStefano, who was performing at the Netflix is a Joke comedy festival and told a joke that not one person in the audience laughed at. In June of 2022, comedian Amy Schumer invited Chris DiStefano to perform on her comedy special, Parental Advisory. The theme for this comedy special was to tell jokes about parenting and family, but Chris didn't have any material left on the theme, so he decided to tell a joke about an entirely different topic.
I had not a lot of new material, so I proceeded on a family show that Amy Schumer did jokes about family, great jokes about a family. I proceeded to do a 6-minute bit about how my dog Larry died and how he was given the wrong medication.
Chris explains that the joke about his dead dog was set up for people to laugh in the beginning and then get set up for a huge laugh at the end. But to Chris's surprise, none of that happened.
Nobody laughed in the middle. They kind of laughed a little bit in the, nobody laughed in the beginning, subtle laughs in the middle, and then the end was a full cricket bomb.
No.
Full cricket bomb. The first show I just got off and was like, whatever I have to do. The second show, I hit the punchline, which normally gets laughs. Absolutely bombed. I looked straight into the camera. I said, I'm going to kill myself.
No,
I swear to God.
No, you didn't.
I swear to God. I swear to God.
Keep that in? Did the crowd go nuts?
The crowd said nothing.
When you said I'm going to kill myself.
I said at the end, I said, I'm going to kill myself. And that completely, I swear to God.
Chris DiStefano knew instantly that he had bombed, but the same can't be said for comedian Andrew Santino, who didn't realize he had bombed until another comedian said something to him. A few years ago, Andrew Santino was set to perform at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, California. Andrew knew he was going to be late to his set, so his time where he was supposed to perform got pushed back. When he got to the Comedy Store, he realized there wasn't a big audience, so he decided to try out some new material that he had been working on.
There was barely anybody in the room. I'm like, I guess I'll just try some new shit. I get up there, you know those nights when you're like, whatever, there's nobody here. It's like a Tuesday. So I get up there, I'm trying a bunch of new shit. It's going like mediocre, but it's fine. Like it's just, in my head, I'm like, this is fine. This is exactly what I wanted. It's a bunch of new stuff.
Andrew Santino then got off the stage and went to sit down to turn off the audio recorder on his phone. When he sat down, he looked to his right and realized he had sat right next to comedian Chris Rock.
And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. And I turn and he goes, hey. And I was like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And I just sat there on my phone. And then before he gets up, he kind of is like, you know, like looking to get up and leave without it being like weird, because I just sat right next to him. And he kind of turns to me and he just goes, a good set, man. And then he walks away. And I was like, no, he knows. He knows how bad it was. And when you say good set, man, and
walk away, it's not good.
It was. So now he'll remember that.
As soon as Chris Rock told Andrew Santino, nice set, and got up and walked away, Andrew knew immediately that it was not a good set and that he had totally bombed. Although this was pretty embarrassing for Andrew Santino, Bobby Lee had to one-up him and tell a really bad bombing story right after. Bobby Lee used to perform at the Caroline's Comedy Club in New York a lot, but after he bombed one night, he has never performed there again. This was early in Bobby Lee's career, and he didn't have much of an audience except from Mad TV, but that audience was dwindling. On average, Bobby would sell a decent amount of tickets, but this particular night at the Carolines, he only sold about 12 tickets.
I remember this night because my friend Bess Hanley came from Long Island, because she had moved to Long Island.
Yep.
From I knew her from San Diego, and she brought her husband, and she had this, because I could see her. She was like up to the left,
right,
and this is her face through my whole set.
She's trying to read something from far away.
Yeah, just like confused and like also like very concerned.
Yeah.
Like he might need to get a job.
Were you bombing?
It was not good.
At the end of Bobby Lee's sets, he used to get completely naked and would run around, but this night, he was bombing so bad that he decided to do his closer in the middle of his set.
And I'm on stage, I'm sweating, right? It's cold as fuck, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
And I'm naked and no one's laughing, right? People are kind of getting up, right? My friend Bess's face is even getting down here like this, like anger almost. And I remember just picking up my clothes. Good night! No cheer, right? Walking off. And then I just remember sweat and tears welling up, right? And it was just
Bob.
terrible.
If this wasn't already bad enough, as soon as he got to the back room and his clothes were in his hands, he sees someone standing in the room against the wall.
So I see it's Chris.
Oh,
So I go, I don't know what else to say. So I go, hey. I go, hey. What up, man? Right? I'm shaking, right? Hey,
what up, man?
what up, man?
Then Chris Rock says something to Bobby Lee that will forever be engraved in his mind. Chris Rock said,
What are you doing, man?
You should get that tattooed on you. What are you
doing,
man?
And here's my response. I don't know.
Bobby was going to stay at the comedy club and watch the other sets, but after this happened, he left the club out of pure embarrassment. Now, if you think that was embarrassing, it's nothing compared to what Theo Von did. About 9 years ago, Theo Von got invited to host a benefit that was celebrating Kirk Douglas and the Beverly Hills Hotel. Well, when Theo Von got invited, he thought they said to roast. So preparing for this event, Theo was under the impression that he was supposed to roast Kirk Douglas. He had no clue he was supposed to be hosting the event. Now, a little background on Kirk Douglas. He was an American actor and filmmaker, most commonly known for his role as Spartacus. Kirk Douglas also suffered a horrible stroke and lost his ability to speak clearly. Well, Theo Von, thinking that he was supposed to roast Kirk Douglas, wrote a ton of jokes about Kirk Douglas and even had some jokes about his stroke.
Well, here's the thing. They just, you think Publicists Guild, they fucking give you some intel, right? So I had nothing, bro. They sent me out there, and I thought I was a roast. So we wrote all these roast jokes. Me and my friend Matt Weiss wrote the roast jokes about Kirk Douglas.
Yeah.
And
The man is like 95 years old. He can't speak. Didn't you call attention to that in the roast? How good an actor is he? He can't even, everything's a vowel. Didn't you say that? He doesn't have one fucking consonant. And then you get up to do the roast. Listen to this guy.
Everybody in the audience was confused when Theo Von started to roast Kirk Douglas. Nobody in the room of about 1,000 people were laughing until about midway through Theo Von's roast, he finally got somebody to laugh.
one laugh goes, it's one laugh, bro. There's 1,000 people in there. So when I finally get a laugh, and I key in on it.
Yay!
And I said,
feeling.
and I think the joke had maybe had a little some racial undertone. So the one guy laughs is black, and I'm like, at least the brother laughed for me, right? I said that, right? So for some reason, they bring the lights up as if we need to see if it's a black guy laughing.
Oh my God.
The only thing that went right in the whole production is that at some point when I mentioned that that's a black guy laughing, they bring the fucking lights up.
Now, you probably think that this cannot get any worse, but it does.
This is the worst part. They had a couple children from like Siam or something that came in with some documentary. And I roasted those bastards. I just didn't know what was going on. But there was no rehearsal. I didn't even know what the fuck this thing was, dude.
Orphan children.
Yeah.
He's
There's
roasting.
no thing, man, and everybody's eating out there eating salmon, bro.
Long story short, somebody from production finally came up to Theo Von and ended his roast of Kirk Douglas. A similar situation happened to comedian Tom Segura when he made a comment to somebody in the audience, but the joke just wasn't very fitting. Tom Segura was about 10 minutes into his set when he noticed a guy in the audience had his head turned and was talking to somebody at his table. Tom Segura decided to call that guy out.
So I did one of those. I'm like, what was that? He's like, yeah. He says something. And then I say something snappy back to him. I'm like, I don't know. Why don't you, there's something about like a dog group there or something. And I was like, well, why don't you put your head in a bowl like a fucking dog would or something?
But you didn't know there was a dog group there, or you did?
No, I knew that. I knew there was something dog related. I remember it was like a dog line. And then I remember that like when I said that, and as opposed to most times you say something like that, the person you say it to might be like, hey, I remember like 6 people were like, what was that? Like all at once.
Yeah.
And I was like, you heard, like, oh, that's a lot of people. reacting to that.
Now, Tom tried to move past this joke because he could tell it was getting awkward, but people were not letting him move on. The audience was legitimately getting angry with what Tom had just said, and as time went on, it spread like a wildfire.
A build. It's like when something just spreads. So like 6 people are kind of upset, and then like 11.
This is right when you walk out?
No, it's like 10 minutes in though. Like it starts off okay, it's kind of going fine. That happens. They start to like it spreads throughout this table.
Tom realized that the audience was actually 2 different companies that were having holiday parties. One group was about 60 people that worked at the same company, and the other group was about 80 people who worked at a different company. One of these groups was the dog organization, and obviously they were getting angry, which then made the other group start to get confused and angry.
The group that wasn't related to the first guy starts to go like, what's going on? Like, and then they start to get louder.
Motherfucker told him to put his head in the dog bowl. Across.
Yeah. And here's the thing, when that's in the air, you're trying to, I go,
You can't knock that down. You're like,
nah. I'm like, let's put this back on the tracks and just go to material. And at the time, I'm like, that's the thing to do. And dude, like, you can't. Like, I start doing like a bit. It just feels disingenuous. You're like, people here are upset. They're starting to say shit, and then just like that, out of nowhere, so the feature act was black, and this first person goes, "Bring back the black guy."
the black guy.
Yeah.
Then other people in the audience agreed with that idea and created a chant to bring the other comedian back out.
Other people are like, "That's a good idea. Bring him back." And they start like, "Bring him back." And then they're like, "You fucking suck." And then they're just going, "Boo!" like that. And I mean a parade of boos.
Then Tom noticed a table in the back with about 6 people who were not affiliated with either of the businesses, and those were the only people in the whole room that were actually trying to listen to his jokes. Tom focused all of his attention on that table and tried to continue his set by talking to that table, but it was so loud from the people booing that he just couldn't finish his set.
So then at one point, I feel like it's so ridiculous. I just find
How long is this going on? You're 10 minutes in. How long is this? Like 15 minutes of this shit?
I mean, I end up being on stage for about 33 minutes. And at one point I pick a light, like a light from the, in the room that's supposed to be a stage light, and I just stare at it and I start just telling jokes to the light. I'm just like, "Hey man," and I just run material at the light. Because I know like they don't care.
And they're just getting louder and louder.
Yeah, it's so loud in there. It's like they're louder than the speakers. Mm-hmm. And they're having like full conversations and like, because they're like, "Fuck this guy,"
Then the manager of the club gets up on stage and asks Tom if he is okay. Tom responds to the manager saying that he's fine, and the manager leaves, and Tom continues to tell jokes to the light. But a few minutes later, the manager returns to the stage, but this time he has a woman with him.
I see the manager walk up again with a woman. And I'm like, she comes on and she's like shell-shocked. She's a little older. And she's like, can I have the microphone for a second? And I'm like, okay. So I give her the mic and she's like, "We came here tonight
Trembling.
to raise money for these dogs. And this man deserves an opportunity to..."
Fuck you, bitch!
That's exactly what happened.
Of course it is.
Yeah, they're like, "Shut up."
Mob mentality.
Yeah.
Bring the black guy back.
That's 100%.
I'm at the comedy club.
And she's like, "Can we please just give him an opportunity?" And they're like, "No!"
Collectively 300 people.
Yeah, they're like, "Boo!
The fuck out of here.
Fuck him." And then I'm like, "All right." And she gives me back the mic. Here you go. I go, "Thanks a lot."
Again, the manager comes back on stage and tells Tom that they are going to bring the other comedian back on stage.
And I go, "Okay." "Okay, sure, man."
But did you bring the black guy out? Did you like
Yes,
announce
I got
him?
to say it. I got to go, "You know what? This is a terrible show. You're terrible people." and you deserve this. So I'm gonna do you guys a big favor right now. I'm gonna bring back the black guy.
In July of 2021, Shane Gillis sat down with Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast and told a joke about Joe Rogan's podcast, which Joe Rogan didn't even acknowledge, making it a really awkward bombing.
I went into Lorne Michaels' office, and he was talking, and I was convinced I was getting fired. Because if they didn't get me on that, there's so much more. So much worse. He's like, if we just get you to the first episode, like, people will see you're not a piece of shit person.
Right.
Like, just talk. And I was like, whatever, I'll do. If I get fired here, whatever, I'll just go do Joe Rogan next week and I'll be fine. Anyway, I thought that was funny. No?
What?
I was like, I literally.
Is that what you thought?
I literally thought that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought it would be funny.
Well, it could have been funny.
About 2 years later, Shane Gillis talked about this awkward bombing moment on a different podcast.
Yeah, I bombed on there, and that was bad, dude. That was
Yeah.
cutting our fucking heads off.
Yeah.
I wish someone would have cut my head
Someone
off
came down.
right then, dude.
And that was early in the
I
episode.
wish
too.
Jamie
What was
would
that?
have fucking
30 minutes in.
Red face, just like what?
Yeah. It is
You know,
great. Doesn't he still not get the joke?
He gets it.
He gets it now?
Yeah, he understood it then. He thought. I mean, there is a part of the joke where there's something underlying it. If it was about you, you'd be like, "You're accusing me of not helping you." That's the part he took from it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the joke was I was arrogant and stupid, and I was like, I'll just go on Rogan. I don't give a fuck. He's definitely gonna have me on.
He's like, wait, what?
And he was like, who are you?
Fuck. Shit.
These have been 6 comedians who shared their embarrassing bombing stories. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe with post notifications on, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.